today we are focusing on a car company I can never seem to stop thinking about. I mean, the allure of a funky turbo 5-speed car from a fun European country with a sleek design, built like a fighter jet. Ooh, who could resist? Everyone knows the story already. Sweden wanted to build their own fighter craft and stuff because they felt pressure from the incoming Second World War. Prime Minister Per Albin Hansson, declared in a speech in 1936 that our country should manufacture its own weapons as much as possible. We have good shipyards and armories, but we have no production in the country for warplanes. Roughly a year later, Svenska Aeroplan Aktiebolaget Saab was formed on April 2nd, 1937. That was a close one. After some confusing contract battles and corporate mambo jumbo. How do I mess up mumbo jumbo? It's literally written in the script mambo jumbo. How do I misspell mumbo jumbo? I'm stupid, bruh. Saab finally got to work. The first thing they developed on their own and didn't just get a contract to make was the Saab 17, a light dive bomber. Then followed by the Saab 18, a Schnell bomber, whatever the fuck that is. Then the Saab 21, a single-seater fighter. Saab also gets to take credit for designing the modern ejection seat that uses gunpowder, which sounds not modern at all. Like, they were using compressed air before and they upgraded to gunpowder. Yeah, they was making killing machines, and it was all good because, let's be real, World War II has got to be like the only war you can morally justify. Another thing to note is most of cars in Sweden were US imports, and during World War II, auto production for the most part shut down, so people in Sweden couldn't buy cars. They were stuck on waiting lists for years. So once World War II was over, Saab decided it was a good idea to diversify its portfolio and make the Saab 9-2. Based on the Saab concept, this was a 3-cylinder, 2-stroke car that was in fact a car. It got you from point A to... They revised it and beat it to death until 1968 when they came out with the 9-9. With stuff like a wraparound windscreen, self-repairing bumpers, headlamp washers, and side impact door beams, and later a turbo model, this car defined Saab as a safety-first but still fun-loving, caring company.
In every Saab, you'll find durable construction, like Volvo's, the luxury of a spacious interior, like Audi's, gas economy, like Dashers, the performance of an overhead cam engine, like BMW's, comfortable reclining seats, like Peugeot's, the safety of 4-wheel disc brakes, like Mercedes-Benz. All the things you look for in a car, you'll find in every Saab. Saab, it's what a car should be.
Saab merged with Scania and life was good. They made some funky cool cars like the 9000 and their greatest hit, if you will, the 900. Then, in 1989, General Motors came in the room like a drunk uncle with bloodshot red eyes and a stare that give the devil goosebumps. Saab's auto division was structured into its own company, separate from Saab Scania, then GM bought 50% of it. If you want an idea of how this was going to go, let's look at the Malmo factory that opened in 1989. This factory was unique because it focused on making workers feel comfortable at work in order to increase productivity and retain skilled workers. It started on a year where auto sales and the economy in general were shrinking, so their first year they only built 10,000 cars. GM saw this as, of course, being a result of that gay communist shit they were doing, and switched things over to your traditional style assembly line. So the next year, with GM's changes, things improved drastically. They made 312 more cars this time. Hell yeah, God bless America! And the factory shut down after 2 years. I'm gonna rush this GM portion a bit because it's like beat to death. I mean, just go watch Top Gear. Come on. I know you want to. It's okay. Relive your youth. GM fully acquired Saab in 2000, gave them the Epsilon 1 platform. Saab, working with shit, redesigned it to their liking, which means they completely redesigned it from the ground up, costing GM a fuck ton of money, and it didn't sell enough. Under GM's direction, the badge-engineered 92X, which was a Subaru Impreza, and the 97X, which was a Trailblazer. So if you get a 97X Aero, that is a Trailblazer SS, just so you know, were introduced in the American market in 2005 with the hopes of increasing sales. Both models were critical and commercial failures and were canceled a few years after production began. GM also delayed the 9.3 wagon by 3 years, shelved a hatchback derivative of the 9.3 sedan, stalled plans for all-wheel drive capabilities until 2008, canceled a 9.5 replacement, and announced a planned shift of production away from Saab's historic home in Trollhättan to Opel's factory in Rüsselsheim. America had a financial crisis, GM went bankrupt, and the writing was on the wall for Saab. Koenigsegg talked about buying it, but Saab eventually went to Spyker until 2011 when they were, again, bankrupt. But this time, there was a hopeful Chinese investor claiming to be ready to invest billions into Saab to guarantee its future. Well, GM came stumbling in the room to say, I ain't giving none of my patents that I worked hard for to no Chinese communist spy. They hate us because they ain't us. They hate us because they ain't us. Later, a Hong Kong-based electric vehicle company bought Saab and kept it afloat till 2014. And that was the rest we heard of Saab. And that's why we remember Saab, like they were caring parents, you know. Think of Saab, I think of them giving me a nice warm hug, willing to go bankrupt over making a bad product, cared solely about our safety while allowing us to still have fun. But what if all of that was a ploy? A distraction, if you will, from what Saab was really doing? You see, we remember Saab as a car company, but in reality, that's just a small blip of what Saab does. There was Saab AB, a Swedish aircraft, aerospace, and defense company, still known as Saab, with a subsidiary Data Saab, a computer company. There was Saab Automobile, which had its own subsidiary Saab O, which was a caravan company, and then Saab Scania, which was a corporate group between Saab AB and Scania Vabis. Today we're going to focus on Saab AB. Here's a quick list of things Saab builds. The Saab 17, the Saab 18, the Saab 21, the Saab 21R, the Saab 29 Tunin, the Saab 32 Lancin, the Saab 35 Draken, the Saab 37 Viggen, the Saab JAS 39 Gripen, the Saab 105, the Saab 340 AEWNC, Boeing Saab T7 Red Hawk. Here's some missiles they make. The RBS 56 Bill 2, KEPD 350, the NLAW, the RBO4, the RBO5, the RBS 23, the RBS 15, the RBS 70, the Meteor BV RAAM. They have the ground launch small diameter bomb, 9LV Naval Combat Management Systems, Tactical Integrated Communication Systems, the Sea Giraffe 180 Medium Air Surface Radar, the Giraffe 1X, the Giraffe 4A, Arthur Counter Battery Radar, and the Salina. Clearly Saab's been busy because that's a long list I rambled on, so I'm going to highlight some honorable mentions. Let's start with the first, the Saab 17. The design chosen was a conventional mid-wing cantilever monoplane with a long greenhouse canopy and a single radial engine in the nose, whatever the fuck that means. Listen, I maxed my special interest points on cars, so for the most part, this is like a foreign language to me. For several months in late 1944 and early 1945, 15 B-17s were operated by the Danish Brigade in Sweden, a unit of 5,000 men, including 50 airmen in Sweden, which had been formed to assist in liberating occupied Denmark from the Nazis and preventing the retreating German soldiers from using civilians as human shields. The 21R, which was Saab's first jet plane, where they converted a normal piston engine 21 to jet propulsion. And then the J-29. The J-29 was fast and agile, and set the world speed record on a 500-kilometer, 310-mile closed course in 1954. The Tunin was also the first Swedish aircraft to see combat assisting the United Nations in Congo. I don't got a lot of info on this. The Congo gained independence, but the Belgian army that was in place at the time was not ready to, in quotations, Africanize. The Belgians then went and seized the resource-rich land, Katanga province. Lumumba asked the UN to use military force. They intervened, refused to use force, however, as that wasn't peacekeeping. Lumumba was murdered for being a communist. UN Swedish troops witnessed Lumumba's transfer to Elizabethville after his capture by Mobutu's forces, and he was badly bruised and beaten. He was executed by its Katangan firing squad, and his body was dissolved in acid. Then the UN was like, okay, we can use military force now. Definitely weren't playing favorites or anything. Either way, none of that's important. Let's focus on Saab's involvement. Most of the missions involved attacking ground targets with internal cannons and unguided rockets. No aircraft were lost in action. In later years, however, most Congolese came to view the ONUC, which was their peacekeeping thing, as an unwelcome foreign interference in their country's affairs. The Saab 35 Draken is known for, amongst other things, its many firsts within aviation. It was the first Western European-built combat aircraft with true supersonic capability to enter service and the first fully supersonic aircraft to be deployed in Western Europe. Design-wise, it was one of, if not the first combat aircraft designed with the double delta wings, being drawn up by early 1950. The unconventional wing design also had a side effect of making the first known aircraft to be capable of and perform the Cobra maneuver. It was also one of the first Western European-built aircraft to exceed Mach 2 in level flight, reaching it on January 4th and 1960. This, as far as I know, didn't see combat. The Saab JAS-39 Gripen is where things start to get dystopian. Sweden had a good history of being neutral, and therefore so did Saab, besides that blip in the Congo. But we are joining the modern age, and Sweden is still a part of the UN, and therefore these guys ended up all over the world, wherever the UN wanted, like in Libya on August 9th. The head of the UNESCO, Irina Bokova, deplored a NATO strike on Libyan state TV, Al Jamahiriya, that killed 3 journalists and wounded others. On the 11th of August, after the NATO airstrike on Mayher on 9th of August that allegedly killed 85 civilians, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon called on all sides to do as much as possible to avoid killing innocent people. South African President Jacob Zuma said that the consistent and systematic bombing by NATO forces undermine the security and cause conflicts that are continuing in Libya and neighboring countries. Side note, these planes are being sent, they're planning on sending these planes to Ukraine. The UMS Skedlar V-200. The Skedlar can be used for surveillance, intelligence gathering, light cargo transportation, and electronic warfare. And this looks like some shit Elon Musk would make. This looks like straight up some fucking, whatever the movie's called. I'm not a movie guy, but like futuristic ass like movie, scary movie thing. The Taurus KEPD-350 is an air-launched cruise missile. Saab advertises it as an extremely demanding... Oh, I'm reading off their website. Extremely demanding air operations require a precision air-to-surface missile system. The Taurus KEPD-350 will destroy dense, hardened, and deep targets, big and small. The RBS-23, which is an air defense system that was named after a Swedish bear, weirdly. The author of the cartoon said, to give a weapon name associated with a children's character who for decades has represented nonviolence, tolerance, and solidarity testifies about a lack of judgment so grave that one in no other aspects can have confidence in the arms industry. The RBS-70 is a portable air defense system that Iran used in the Iran-Iraq war against Iraqi aircraft. In 1990, the Royal Australian Navy embarked 2 RBS-70 units and Australian Army operators on board the fleet replenishment ship HMAS Success when it deployed to the Persian Gulf in the lead-up of the First Gulf War in Kuwait. In 1992, a Venezuelan Army RBS-70 SAM is attributed with having shot down a rebel OV-10 Bronco during the 27th November 1992 coup attempt. RBS-70 was supplied to Ukraine by Sweden at the beginning of 2023 during the Russian invasion. Sweden also provided Ukraine with the Giraffe 75 short-range radar for use with the RBS-70. The Ukrainian military claims to have used RBS-70 to shoot down Russian cruise missiles and Iranian-made loitering munitions. The Meteor BV RAM, which is cool because it has something called a no escape zone, I think is sick. Like, pause for a second. Imagine some like boffin dude, you know what I'm talking about, right? Just like on his computer in a desk somewhere, calculating how to maximize his no escape zone for the missile he's designing, bruh. It's some nerd that plays Smash too. You know he plays Smash in his free time, and he's sitting here calculating no escape zones. Saab even advertises it as having a high kill probability. Bro, what the fuck are they doing? This is the Saab. What the fuck? Bro. So essentially, Saab's products can be found in any major battlefield in the modern world, and that is a sharp contrast to their fun-loving, friendly reputation. I mean, they design missiles and calculate things like no escape zones. Like, what the fuck? My heart is crushed. I wanted to make a fun video on the history of Saab, but when I went to Google Saab, I found their own website, and my mind was blown. Like, I'm so torn. I loved my 9.3. I had a 0493 Arrow. I called her Sabrina, you know, a little play on words. You know, despite it being a GM product, the B207R, which was a reworked LSJ from the Cobalt with the TD04 turbo, it was an amazing engine. It handled so good, and it was safe and comfortable. It didn't fatigue me like normal cars when I drove it. It felt like a truly nice place to be. You know what doesn't feel like a nice place to be? Underneath a motherfucking Meteor BV RAM with its high kill probability. And please don't get it twisted. I'm not some weirdo that thinks that like Ukraine deserved to be fucking invaded or whatever. But what I do believe is that large players in the world, like the United States and the United Nations, like to make smaller countries have wars with each other. Therefore, the military-industrial complex can make money. Companies like Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, and fucking Saab apparently are all benefiting from these wars. And I think that's a problem. I don't like that. That's not too cool to me.